Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the YouTube audiobook series for The Forbidden Truth, written by Abby Matthias. I am Darius, and today I will be introducing Chapter 22. If you missed Chapter 21, link is in the description below, along with the playlist for both The Snake and the Rose and for this one. If you are all caught up and ready to go, though, we will continue on with Chapter 22, Family Burdens.
Well, another month went by and nothing really extravagant happened, besides maybe having a few more intercourse sessions with Damien and my demon antagonizing me for it. Yet that wasn't the most important thing that came about. Time went by fast, and I couldn't help but think of the sleepover at my boyfriend's house I was going to have after school was over. I was officially finishing my second year of college for my interactive media design program and graduating with an associate's degree. I purposely planned for that weekend with the Haynes to be the same one as my last week of school. That way it was like a reward for graduating and finishing college. Also, that way Damien wouldn't keep me preoccupied while trying to finish my classes. Yet the day finally came, May 20th of 2022. I was freshly graduated and waiting for my diploma to be delivered to me by mail. I didn't want to walk on stage or be at the ceremony. I knew my parents would throw me a party in July where we would celebrate then. That was all I wanted. To celebrate my greatest accomplishment so far with friends and family. Regardless of that, I knew damn well Damien would treat me to a night of partying to really settle the fact that I was done with schooling. Hell, I was so excited for the day that I even packed my things for the weekend at the beginning of the week. Despite my extreme excitement for the planned trip to the Haynes house, Darius was overwhelmed with how happy I was.
Are you ready to go, Miss Excited?
He said with a chuckle and a smile. Yes, let's go! I exclaimed with all my stuff in my hand.
Hold on there, Tiger. We need to make sure you have everything. Not that you live far away if you do forget something, but you're not going to want to leave Damien to grab a forgotten item.
Fine. List them off.
Phone charger, laptop, earbuds, allergy medicine, birth control, nice clothes and shoes, deodorant, hairbrush, hair bands, chapstick, dry shampoo, bras, underwear, pajamas, keys, wallet, and sunglasses.
I have all of that. Except my phone charger and nice clothes. I stated, shamefully setting down my bag to gather the remaining things.
That's why we always double-check things. After you pack that stuff, then we can go on our way.
After his remark, I did just that. Packed the rest of my necessities, loaded my baggage into my car, said goodbye to my parents, and was officially off to Damien's house. I sang my heart out throughout the entire car ride. I was just that full of excitement that I couldn't contain myself. However, Darius fueled that energy by joining the sing-along for a few songs. It was quite funny to say the least, but it made the ride very enjoyable. Eventually, I made it to the Haynes household at 12 o'clock exactly. Damien was waiting by the window and watched me pull in the driveway. Upon viewing my car, a smile grew on his face as he stood up and exited the room he was in to meet me outside. Once he did, we clung to each other within an embrace and kissed sweetly for a brief moment. His kiss electrifying every sense in my body and making me giggly. This was like a dream come true, and Damien was my Prince Charming.
Hello, my love. It's great to see you again.
It's good to see you again, too. I love you so much. A chuckle came from his throat after my response.
I love you too. Let's get your stuff inside so we can get you acquainted with the house again. This time, within a better light.
Okay, baby. And Damien helped me carry my stuff inside. We made our way downstairs where Damien's room was, and I was mesmerized to see it again. I loved seeing his dark green paint walls with different kinds of car decor on it. I loved seeing his lamp that had a car engine as the base. Great pun, not to mention if I say so myself. Anyways, I adored seeing his queen-size bed with dark blue sheets and blankets, the very same bed we will share later tonight. I knew I may seem overexcited to be at my boyfriend's house, but to be able to sleep here in a house that was foreign to me for years just seemed like a great accomplishment. A rarity that others don't have the pleasure of getting. Only I have been gifted this treat, and I was gonna soak it in for as long as I could.
Are you hungry, Abby?
Damien asked, interrupting my thoughts. Actually, yes, I am. I forgot to eat lunch before I came. I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry, love. I was hoping you would say that. I got a little treat for you in the dining room.
Wait, really? I asked surprisingly. What is it?
Come upstairs with me and see.
Upon that moment, he extended his hand out to me to persuade me to grab it. I most certainly did. It wasn't very hard to convince me to do so. Afterwards, he backed up out of his room and led me back upstairs to the dining room. As we entered, I saw the table set up with plates and silverware where a vase of roses stood in the middle, not to mention rose petals being scattered all on the table to make it more romantic. Not that the chandelier that was hanging down wasn't setting the mood already, but this was something I never experienced before. True love. A kind of love I thought I would never have or get from another. But here was Damien, treating me like a queen and his prize jewel. Tears slowly started to form in my eyes from the overflow of joy, yet I still kept myself composed to not ruin the mood. Damien, this is amazing. Did you set this up yourself?
Yes, I did. I figured since you cook me meals all the time when I come over, it was only fair to cook you one within my kitchen. I made my own rendition of that pasta dish you get at the Golden Rose, but also not to forget the breadstick that comes with it.
Oh my god, are you serious? How did you learn to cook it? I asked, very jittery. He let out a chuckle again and said,
My dear, I will tell you as you are served. It's time to eat, darling. Please have a seat.
As I walked up to my chair, he pulled it out like a gentleman and pushed me in once I sat down. Then he went into the big kitchen, brought out lunch from the oven, and began to serve it. He explained how he was able to recreate the meal and how long it took him to make. While he talked, the pasta steamed off the plates as it was freshly made. But to put the finishing touches on it, he placed 4 more things on the dish: grilled chicken, diced tomatoes, Parmesan cheese, and a pinch of pepper. After his masterpiece was assembled completely, he sat down and motioned for me to begin eating. Doing as he requested, I loaded up my fork with everything and took my first bite. A burst of flavors took a hold of my taste buds, and I loved it. Everything was perfect. Even though it wasn't the exact pasta dish from the Golden Rose, it was pretty damn close. As I began to enjoy it, I came to another abrupt realization. My demon was being pushed aside, and I was practically ignoring him. Feeling bad, I began to talk to him in the head. Hey Darius, how are you doing?
I am fine. Seems like you're having a great time.
He responded back. I am, but I wanted to make sure you were okay.
Why wouldn't I be? This is your day with Damien. You don't need to interact with me.
I know, but yet I know you haven't eaten anything in a while. It's not fair that I get to eat this delicious meal and you don't even get nutrition for yourself.
Abby, it's fine. I'll get food eventually.
Would you just make me feel better and fuse with me? That way I know you get something to eat? Silence grew in my head for a moment as he didn't respond. However, my ears eventually heard the sound of his shoes hitting the wood floor, and a hand was placed on my shoulder. Then, in less than 5 seconds, we fused as smooth as butter. No jolting, no shudder, no reaction. Darius and I became one and continued eating like nothing happened. As we ate, Damien and I interacted with small talk while Darius stayed quiet. But as we finished eating, I complimented the chef with a chef's kiss. Delicious! Lunch was very good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm glad to have filled your stomach with such perfect food.
Not that I'm not impressed with the main course, but is there any dessert?
Well, I was thinking I could have you for dessert.
My cheeks instantly went red upon his words while tingles spread throughout my body. I was thrown off guard by the comment, yet my demon heightened the moment by taking control of my face and spoke. But that's only for you. You can lick this pussy all you want, but there better be at least ice cream involved. Damien's eyes and mouth tightly closed while a low chuckle came out of his mouth. I'm not gonna lie, it didn't help turn me off. And now I had sexual feelings stirring in my body while Darius was fused with me. As my boyfriend recovered, he opened his eyes back up and responded.
There can be if you wish. But first, I have a gift for you.
He then got up and pulled a small but long rectangular box that had a green ribbon wrapped around it. Damien placed it upon the table in front of me, and I began to smile. What is this? I thought we agreed no graduation gifts.
Well, I may have twisted my words a bit and got you this as a surprise. Now please, open it.
At his gentle command, Darius and I worked together to untangle the ribbon from around the box. Once we did, I carefully lifted the top and was instantly blown away. For sitting in front of me was an emerald necklace with black chain. As it sparkled in the light, I saw that it reflected white and gray hues like real diamonds do. If they were artificial, they would be shining back rainbow rays. Immediately upon the realization, Darius spoke out in the head.
Holy shit! He got you a real diamond necklace!
I know! This cost more than my life itself! I can't accept this!
Oh yes you can, and you will. You will hurt his feelings if you tell him you don't accept it. He wouldn't have gotten it for you if he didn't love you.
Do you like it?
Damien said, interrupting the small conversation. Of course I do! It's just... Are these real diamonds? I asked, a little higher pitched.
Yes. All of those gems on the necklace are diamonds. All of the diamonds together make it a 5-carat necklace.
Damien! How could you even afford it? That is a lot for a 21-year-old man to purchase.
I've been saving money ever since November to put towards it. I wanted to get you something special and figured the necklace would be perfect for your graduation. I'm so proud of you, Abby, and you deserve everything. Now, will you do me the honor of wearing it?
I hesitated for a moment, basking in shock. But of course, Darius came swooping in to respond for me. Yes, absolutely, my love. From there, my boyfriend carefully removed the necklace from its casing and clasped it around my neck. Wanting to see how it looked on me, we all walked myself to the bathroom down the hall to look in the mirror. Gazing at my body, I couldn't believe how beautiful the necklace was. I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would have such a prized jewel. Quite literally. Yet here was a beautiful piece of art caressing my skin and flaunting itself to the world. My chest swirled with emotions as I continued to stare in the mirror. However, Damien made his way behind me and grabbed my hips to pull me into him.
Miss Davis, you look absolutely breathtaking. And that necklace isn't helping with it either.
He said with a low, soothing tone near my ear. Yet before I could say anything, he lowered his lips to the crook of my neck and began to kiss it. Instantly, my skin reacted and grew sensitive to his touch. A slight moan left my body, and I couldn't help but grab his head with my right arm. He was making me act out, and I wasn't going to stop him.
Okay, I am leaving the body now to not get tangled up in this. Enjoy yourself.
And that was the last I heard of my demon before I was able to control my whole body. Damien then stopped and turned me towards him with heavy breath.
How about we take this to my bedroom so I can fuck you with only that necklace on?
The only thing I could do was nod my head yes. Then in the next moment, Damien grabbed me by the hand, kissed the back of it, and led me back to the basement door to gain some privacy. Yet before heading down, I caught one last glimpse of Darius. He was staring at me as I was about to head down into the basement, and he had a smile on his face. He knew what was going on, but I still didn't say a word about it. Despite how inappropriate the topic would have been for him, he waved me goodbye and nodded his head in approval. From there, I smiled back, slipped past the doorframe, and closed the door to the basement to have sex with Damien.
Now, I know I probably shouldn't have done what I did with Damien, but I needed to get the lovebirds to nest in a different room while I explored the unknown. Ever since Satan purposely dragged Abby to hell, I haven't left her by herself. I would follow her wherever she went. Yet because of that, whenever she went to new places, I haven't been able to gain my surroundings within them. Now that we were at the Haynes household, I need to examine the place. My human has been here before, except the last time she was, it turned out to be an emotional ride because of Miss Haynes' sister. I still wasn't pleased that my day was consumed with satanic bullcrap, but there was nothing I could do to go back and fix it. Besides the point, I was now focused on the present. I wanted Damien and Abby to have some alone time so that I could freely roam the house. If she was with him, I knew that my worries would wash away and she would be safe. So when my human's boyfriend made that sexual remark, I knew that was the gateway into leading them downstairs and granting me some time to look around. Now, here I was standing in the living room watching her close the door to the basement to have intercourse with her boyfriend. Without delay, I gradually made my way to the entertainment center first to see all the different kinds of knickknacks that were stored within it. Peering through the glass cabinets, there were ceramic statues of couples doing various activities. Yet the one in particular that caught my eye was a man kneeling down and proposing to a woman. Why that one specifically piqued my interest, I had no clue. But it opened the memory box within my brain, and I was flashed back to the day I did the same to Nala. It was October 24th of 1998. I planned a special day full of entertainment and activities, lunch, bowling, a stroll through Central Park to see all the colorful leaves changing, yet she never suspected a thing about me proposing. I always did activity days with her on a regular basis, so that day was not different than the rest, but yet it was. I secretly set up a private area for Nala and I near the water so we could take in the beauty of the park. I also had my brother help keep it there while we were out and about. New York people loved ruining other people's plans. So while we had lunched and bowled, my trusted brother was waiting to reserve the spot. Once we were about 5 minutes out, I texted him to remove himself from the spot and hide in order to not give anything away. And by the time we got there was no trace of him even being there. A lovely red blanket was laid down by the side of the water while rose petals were scattered about. The sun was almost setting and the sky was full of pink, purple, and blue light. The leaves on the trees shone their bright colors of red, orange, and yellow, everything combined with breathtaking, and perfectly the way I wanted it to be. From a distance, soft music was playing from a band that was playing farther away. I never planned for instruments to be involved within the special day, however it just heightened the mood. Unplanned coincidence is what that was, yet everything was working out in my favor. As we approached, Nala hugged me tighter and began to comment on it.
Darius, did you plan this out?
Maybe. Only the finest for my one and only lady. At that, I gave her a quick kiss on the lips and walked her onto the blanket. Before sitting down, I held her within my arms, gazing at the view. My nerves were on the rise, but I wouldn't expect any less. I had nervous jitters because of my excitement. I knew Nala wouldn't say no, and her father already proved to me to be his son-in-law. I asked for her father's blessing weeks before when we all met up for dinner. As we were saying goodbyes, I pulled him aside and asked him in private. Upon me asking, he smiled widely and said he couldn't be any more happier that I would be a part of the family. That was when he told me Nala was crazy for me and wanted to be my everything. That's how I knew she wouldn't say no to me, popping the question. So as I now stood within that very moment, Nala spoke out.
I love you, Darius. I can't say that phrase enough.
I love you too, Nala. Very much with every fiber of my being.
I wish this moment would last. It must have taken you ages to plan this.
Kind of. But I know how I could make it last in memory.
How is that, my love?
Turn to the side for me, I said, letting her go and allowing her body to turn. She did so willingly, and I went to the edge of the water and placed my hand within it.
What are you doing, silly?
Nala asked with a chuckle. Just grabbing something. See, I secretly also told my brother to place the waterproof ring box right on the edge of the water before I got there. That way I didn't have to carry the ring around and have her find out what I was planning. So bringing the box out, I dried it off with a blanket, kneeled properly on one knee, and opened the box to expose the engagement ring. She instantly gasped at the sight, and her eyes began to water, realizing what I was doing. Yet I didn't give her a chance to say anything else before I spoke. Nala, my love, my true one and only. I love you more than I can express. My heart flutters at the sound of your name. My body shudders and trembles with your touch. My mind is consumed every day by the thoughts of you. You were the first girl I have ever had to call a girlfriend, and I want you to be my last. I want you to be my everything, just like how you want me to be your everything. So will you do me the honor to be my wife? Nala, will you marry me?
Yes, yes, a million times yes!
She cried, sticking out her left hand. Immediately afterwards, I smiled and took the ring out of its holder, placing it on her finger. It was a perfect fit. She jumped for joy, seeing it on her hand officially, but without a doubt, she tackled me to the ground and began to kiss me with such passion. Her lips collided with mine, tears of joy rolling down her face and planting themselves on my cheek. We were officially fiancés, and we couldn't have been any happier. Once the memory fully played in my head, I was brought back once again to my demonic reality. Standing as a demon in a stranger's house, dwelling on when I was truly happy. If I kept looking at these decorations, I wouldn't get anything done because of my mind slipping me back into flashbacks. Refocusing myself, I managed to move down the hallway where the bathroom was and peered to the left where the second door stood. I managed to slip into a bedroom of dark blue walls. The carpet was an off-white color with diamond-like patterns. There was a queen-size bed with cabin-like blankets, a window with wooden blinds, and a dark oak dresser. The room was completely clean while the walls were almost bare. No pictures, wall decor, or even screws to hang things on were presented. Nothing really stuck out to me besides a brown locked briefcase that was laying on the dresser top. For some reason, I was sent back again in time, remembering the times I would carry around a briefcase for the hospital I worked for. Towards the end of my career, it held the files for my son so I could reference them at any time I needed. That was probably the only thing that was left to remember me by. But that was besides the point. I was reflecting once again in a spot for far too long. So with that, I shook off the reflection, walked back out, and began to examine the kitchen again, even though I already examined it once already. I had time to look about the cooking area while Damien and Abby were having lunch, but yet during that time I got lost in my own thoughts. The actions of my protector child's boyfriend reminded me of one specific time I cooked dinner for my wife for our first-year anniversary of being married. Nala specifically wanted a night in, and I told her that I would make it happen. And of course, I delivered. I planned a lovely candlelit dinner with our meals being spaghetti and meatballs. I know that sounds really cliche, but I also didn't know any extravagant recipes to make dinners with at that time. I learned more while spending my life with my spouse, but besides the point, I came home from work early that day to prepare and surprise my wife. We agreed on our meals and she presumed that she would be cooking, but I just had a trick up my sleeve like I always did. So after several hours of prepping and making sure everything was perfect, she came home yet again to another shock, and we enjoyed the rest of the night. Of course, ending it tangled up in the sheets, if you catch my drift. Ever since I stepped into this house, my mind has been going nuts. My time has been taken up with random reflections and memories overflowing my head. As to why, I was absolutely clueless. I mean, yeah, there were times that I would look at certain things within Abby's home and it sent me back to think upon it. There were good days when I could barely think at all, and there were bad days where everywhere I looked my mind would haunt me. Yet something seemed off about today. Something was off about this family. And stepping foot in this house didn't help me one bit. It was almost like a strong, depressive energy lingered within and tugged at my heartstrings. Yet there was nothing that would depict what was wrong. Eventually, I settled myself onto one of the large couches that was placed in the living room and stared at the ground waiting for signs of life. After exploring the home, I realized there wasn't much to look at. Yet if there was, it would only make my brain swirl more in loss and sorrow as the memories would overbear me. At least if I stared at the carpeted floor, I wouldn't be able to think and allow my head to clear. Also, I will be spending a full weekend here along with Abby. If this was going to keep happening during this time period, I couldn't overload myself on the first day. So I zoned off to a world full of silence and nothingness, at least for about an hour, before I heard the doorknob to the front door jiggling and opening loudly. Peering up from my stance and turning my head slightly, I seen Miss Haynes had just arrived at the house with a backpack on her shoulder. She had mail in her hand along with a box of cigarettes, and I grew surprised. She didn't seem like the kind of woman to smoke. Her voice was soft as butter while her face was still youthful regardless of her age. However, as I compared my knowledge of cigarettes to her facial expression, I stopped in my tracks to analyze it more. From where I was sitting, Miss Haynes appeared to have somber eyes along with a slight frown upon her face. She seemed disheveled since the last time I saw her. Her hair was slightly frizzy while her clothes hung loosely and wrinkled upon her body. Her makeup seemed to have been wiped off while her cheeks were slightly red. True signs of her being upset and possibly crying before she came in the house. Once she locked the door again, she made her way to the kitchen and slammed the mail onto the counter while placing her cigarettes back in her bag. I assumed she was hiding them from her son and the guest that was staying in her house. After a brief moment of quietness and leaning her body on the island counter, her eyes began to weep more tears while her breath became shaky. Instantly upon her reaction, I stood up from my spot to just get closer to her. Not that I could do anything to help, but yet I was the only one present to see her struggling. Again, my heartstrings were tugging and making me want to act out to help. Just like on the day we talked at the arcade and emotionally connected somewhat. Yet I was an invisible demon, while she was a human woman. So I had to do the next best thing. Abby, you and Damien need to come upstairs. Miss Haynes is home, and she seems very upset. I need you two to make sure she's okay. I said within the head as if asking out loud would disturb the air.
Okay, Darius. We'll be right up.
She said, surprisingly calm. I thought she would be at least a little bit out of breath, yet I didn't technically know how far they went. Regardless, after about 2 minutes, the lovebirds came upstairs and saw Miss Haynes wiping her eyes.
After about an hour of playtime with Damien, I laid on top of him huffing and puffing. His passion was expressed through every action and touch upon my body. His kisses that trailed down my body consumed my senses. Yet what took me by surprise was how Damien drove me to fall off the cliff of orgasm. He did exactly as he said and had me for dessert. His tongue tasted every inch of my clit and worked its magic to send me into the pleasurable state of ecstasy. However, it didn't stop there. Once he finished his dessert, he flipped me onto him and allowed me to ride on top. Upon the action, I wasn't quite sure on what to do. Yet again, Damien caressed my hips with his hands and helped me for a while until I got the hang of things. From there, everything escalated again as we pleasured ourselves within his bed until we both fell apart. After that, we laid in silence, taking in each other, our sweat colliding and mixing as we rested on each other. My new necklace still wrapped around my neck, pressing in between us. The freshly made memories swirling in my mind and reopening to reflect upon them. A smile peering on my face, while Damien began to brush my hair with his fingers.
I love you, Abby Davis. I can't tell you that enough,
he said, breathless and with a low voice. I love you too, Damien Haynes. I can't believe I wasted so much time to be with you, I replied back.
It's all right, darling. You needed time to heal and find out where your heart truly was. But I'm glad it's with me now.
I'm glad it's with you too. After that, I kissed him on the lips again gently and basked within the moment for a while longer, even though I heard a familiar voice within my head call out to me.
Abby, you and Damien need to come upstairs. Miss Haynes is home, and she seems very upset. I need you two to make sure she's okay.
I didn't realize Miss Haynes was going to be home so early. Or was it already that late? I didn't know what time it was exactly, but it couldn't have been too far into the late afternoon. We had lunch not that long ago. Yet I knew I couldn't keep Darius waiting on a response, so I quickly responded to him before making any further movements. Okay, Darius. We'll be right up. After that, my mind was filled with silence, and I knew I had to talk to Damien. Hey, babe. I think I heard the front door open. I think your mom is home. After saying that, Damien gave me a confused look and reached for his phone that was located on the side table. Glaring at the screen along with him, we saw that it was 1 p.m.
What the hell?
He said, baffled.
Mom never comes home this early. Unless
what, sweetheart?
Unless something is wrong. We really should head up there then.
At his suggestion, I scrambled off his body and placed all my clothes back on. Once we were both ready, Damien came to me again and placed both of his hands upon my face.
If this is what I think it is, I am sorry you have to see my mother like this.
He then placed a kiss on my forehead and began to walk out of the room without holding my hand. I followed closely behind with knots in my stomach. I didn't like how Damien was acting, yet the warning my demon gave me a moment ago made my nerves act up even more. There was something wrong with Miss Haynes, and apparently her son was accustomed to this kind of situation. So following him up the stairs, he opened the door to the basement and walked onto the main floor of the house to bolt for his mother.
Mom, we heard you come home. What's wrong?
He asked in a stern but gentle voice. I was slightly behind as I closed the door to the basement, yet as I turned around, I saw Darius by the dining room table staring straight at me with slight worry expressed on his face. He pointed his finger towards the kitchen, and I immediately walked over to find Damien next to Miss Haynes as she somewhat sniffled and wiped her face. So as I stood practically next to my protector demon, I watched their conversation play out. I'm fine, Damien. Just had a short day at work is all.
You never come home this early unless someone brought up your least favorite subject. Who was it?
It doesn't matter. I can't change anything. I'm now going to relive hell again within the workplace because someone found out my secret and couldn't keep their mouth shut.
Tell me who. Was it your boss? How did they find out?
Damien, stop. She pleaded. He did, but he sighed in frustration upon her plea. He stopped trying to drive answers out of her, but he didn't stop talking.
Mom, I'm sorry that they found out, but it shouldn't matter anymore. Who is going to care in the state of Wisconsin?
I will. I don't want to go through this again. I shouldn't have to keep restarting my life because of my past.
Then I see only one thing to do.
Miss Haynes gazed at her son with somber eyes. However, he stared at her with determination. After a few seconds, her expression changed into anger, and she started to protest. No, Damien!
It's time to put this to rest. We have both been tormented by this for years, especially you. All you are thinking about is how they will think about the situation. But it has been years, and you still allow others to dictate your life. Please, for the love of everything, let this pass. Stop the running and hiding. Let us be who we are supposed to be instead of trying to be fake.
We can't. We will be driven out of the town again if we do. Damien then threw his hands up in the air and huffed again, but this time when he spoke, I heard the anger and the sadness come through to say how he felt.
I can't do this anymore, Mom. I can't continue to lie about who we are, especially when I have a loving girlfriend who has never lied to me about anything. Why do you think I stopped dyeing my hair silver?
Because you didn't like it anymore. I don't know, but I wish that you would. You look so much like your father and can be picked out of a crowd because of it.
I am sorry, Mom, but that isn't going to happen. I am done hiding who I am. I am 21 years old and still trying to conceal my true self because of you. I've lived in a dark shadow since I was young, never being allowed to have freedom of choice like the other kids do. I want to look like my father. I want to remember him, at least bring you some joy knowing that I still have some resemblance of him. I want to carry on the family name and bring it a better legacy rather than you wanting it to die. If Dad were here and was aware of what we have been doing since he left, he would be heartbroken and would be ashamed that the strong woman he knew grew weak while she prohibited his son from being who he truly wants to be.
Silence followed after his rant, and I couldn't help but reflect about the information I learned. All of this burden was because of whatever happened to his father. Damien was suppressed to be in a shell, Yet to me, it didn't seem like he was. There was a deeper secret that constricted these two tightly together. Darius must have noticed my tension and emotions, for in a moment he wrapped his arm around my body to give me a soft hug. Yet it wasn't enough to disturb the fabric on my shirt or bring attention to my stance. Not that it wouldn't have mattered, though, for as we stood by the table, still as rocks, Miss Haynes began to sob even more and walked away. The last sound we heard from her was weeping and the soft click of her bedroom door closing. Damien stayed by the counter and leaned himself upon it in grief. I could tell he felt awful about what happened, but I had a feeling in my gut that he felt worse talking to his mother with such aggression. I couldn't move for a brief moment. However, my demon spoke out to me to break my pause.
It looks like he really needs you, Abby. Please go to him.
And he unwrapped his arm and set me free to walk forward. As the tread of my shoes sounded in the air, my boyfriend continued to stand still, at least until I placed my hands upon his back. At my touch, he turned his head to me and spoke.
I'm sorry again about that. I wish you didn't have to see it.
He whispered. Honey, it's okay.
No, it's not, Abby. Every time I talk to you, I have to lie and pretend that we are who we are. But we are not. I wanted to tell you the truth for so long now. But as you can see, my mom despises me to do so. I'm just so sick of it.
Well, I know it isn't my place. However, if you're done hiding your secrets, tell me who you really are. I want to know the real you, not the fake you. At that moment, Damien shifted his glance from the hallway door to me, contemplating whether he was going to commit to his change or not. However, after a moment, he took in a deep breath and answered me.
All right. We'll talk downstairs. Just give me a minute to go to the bathroom and compose myself.
Take all the time you need, Damien. I'll be here waiting. At that, he kissed my forehead and walked down the hall to the right to enter the bathroom.
Do you want me to give you two some space again to have this private conversation, or do you want me to be there with you?
Darius asked quickly after hearing the bathroom door shut. I don't know. I'm about to find out the family burden that these two have, yet I want to make sure that Miss Haynes is okay. She seems extremely upset, and I don't want her to do something stupid. I whispered, knowing the Haynes family could possibly hear me through the wooden doors in silence.
Well, there might be one way to ensure she will be okay.
And what is that solution?
Projecting your intangibility power to me. That way I am allowed to pass through her door and keep an eye on her as well.
But I don't know how I do that, though.
You have done it before, Abby. I'm sure you can just think about it like when we switch, and it will happen. Just focus, and try it before your boyfriend comes back.
I did as he said without any hesitation. I trusted him at this point. I didn't need to question his actions or logic. Plus, if he can stay connected to me and make sure Miss Haynes will be okay, I was going to do what I could to allow it. So trying to center myself, I tightened my fist and thought about the energy being in my hand. Then extending it outward, I opened my eyes to find a magenta glow around my hand that indicated the ability activating. Once I felt it was ready, I opened my palm and touched Darius's arm, hoping that was how the power was transferred. At first, nothing really happened. However, as my demon tested his hand by pushing down on the table, he phased through it. Knowing it worked, he readjusted himself and spoke a final time.
That a girl. Alright. Once Damien walks back out here, I will make my way into his mom's bedroom. If you need me, call for me in the head, and I will be there.
Okay, I will. Immediately upon my response, the bathroom door opened and Damien appeared from around the wall to step himself in front of me.
Are you ready?
He asked. Yes, I am. From there, Darius quickly slipped away from sight while Damien grabbed my hand. He led me again to the basement door, and we moved down into the private setting of his room. Stepping back into Damien's living space, I felt the shift in the atmosphere from when we occupied the area the first time. Just a few minutes ago, we were tangled up in happiness and pleasure. Yet within a span of 10 minutes, it was wrenched away, and nothing but sadness filled the air. Damien was unhinged, and I could tell by his stance. His breath was shallow, his shoulders tense, his eye contact wavered. I could see the change in his mood, and it was all because of his father. Well, this was the moment I would find out what happened, how things came to be for the Haynes family, and how it fell apart years ago. As Damien sat down on the bed, I followed suit and faced him with calmness. Regardless of the knots in my stomach and the worry in my head, I needed to understand his impactful, furtive nature, the haunting of his past. So as I stayed silent, Damien slowly began to talk.
I know my mom won't be okay with me telling you this information, but she needs to push past her denial and let it go.
After that sentence, I nodded my head to show my support. However, at that point, his mind was getting the best of him and he started falling apart.
I don't know what the hell happened to my father. Everyone is saying that he disappeared, but I know he didn't.
Okay. And why do you feel like that? I asked softly.
Because of the bond we had. I know I was young, but we were best friends. My dad loved me. We did everything together. Saying that we were two peas in a pod would be a huge understatement. We were more than that. We all were.
What do you mean by we? Like you, your mom, and your dad?
Yes, he loved us all dearly. I still remember the times he would come home from work and kiss Mom with such love. Then I would come running over to his leg and squeezed it as tight as I could. Yet then, the night came when he didn't come home. Mom kept telling me that he left us alone, but I don't believe that one bit. He just...
Honey, I said, grabbing a hold of his hands. He stared back at me, breathing heavily in panic. I eventually brought my hand up to his face and grabbed his attention with my eyes, hoping they would slow his brain. And they did. So as we were stalled, I spoke out again softly. It's okay, Damien. You are jumping all over the place. I know this is hard for you, 'cause, from what I assume, I am the first person you ever told about your father. He nodded his head violently, almost with tears in his eyes.
I'm scared that this will change how you view me. I've lied to you, Abby, when you have done nothing but been truthful. I don't want this affecting our relationship.
It won't, and I promise it won't. I understand that there is a serious trauma that you and your mom are still dealing with, regardless of how long it has been. I love you, Damien, and I will not leave you because of your past. From this point on, I will be with you to help build your future. Just please, take a deep breath and try to speak slowly. Upon my request, he took in 3 deep breaths in order to try and compose himself. As he felt ready, he took my hand off of his face and placed it into his hand to hold. Then after a slight pause, he finally made one full statement that I could understand.
I know my dad didn't leave us to make it on our own. I can't explain it any better than he just disappeared without a trace. I know he was obsessed with trying to help me at that point in time.
What was he trying to help you with?
He was trying to find a cure for my rhabdomyosarcoma, a cancer that forms in young children and adolescents. I was diagnosed with it when I was still a child.
This has been Chapter 22, Family Burdens, from the book The Forbidden Truth. Tune into the next video for Chapter 23. Thank you for listening.